Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to the 2018 Oregon Specialty Crop Block Grant Program Process Overview. First, I want to thank you for your patience as we move through this year's process, and me working in two positions is a little bit slower this year. This is who you're talking to, Shannon Brubaker, Program Manager at the Oregon Department of Agriculture for the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program, and my contact information. And as a reminder, the location you can find all of the information for the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program is on our website. And from the homepage, which we'll show you at the end of this program or this PowerPoint, on our website is the marketing and development site. So we'll go through that. Just want to say that I'm here today with Gabrielle Redhead, and she's going to take over this webinar here in a moment. She'll probably be a little bit smoother than I am. But also she'll tap me if she has any questions or information that she's just not quite up to speed with. She'll probably do a heck of a lot better than I am. I feel clunky right now. But just have some patience with us as she's learning, and she'll also be a resource for you. So I'm just going to let her take over right now and introduce herself.
Yeah, so hello everyone. As Shannon said, my name is Gabrielle Redhead. You can see my picture here and tell that I do not actually have red hair. And I am the program intern here with the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program, which I'm going to actually shorten to just say specialty crops, so we're not having to trip over words the entire time. Just so you guys have my contact information, this telephone's the same as Shannon's, website's the same, all of that information's the same. And again, we're going to go over the website links and where to find specialty crop stuff.
Oh, real quick, I just want to say, just to go back, folks, maybe go back. There we go. For those of you who are returning customers for this program, please note the telephone change this year because I have transferred to the Salem office. You can get a hold of us through the same phone number that you've had in the past. However, our phone number is new in the Salem office. We're located there, so 503-986-4620. Thanks. Sorry about that.
No problem. Just to give you guys a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to look at the requirements of specialty crop timeline, and then in the end, Shannon is going to take us through the application and some of the resources available to you guys. So just to start, as you can see, specialty crops are defined as fruits, vegetables, tree nuts, dried fruits, horticulture, nursery crops, which include floriculture. So we are really focused at Specialty Crop on enhancing the consumption, competitiveness, and availability of specialty crops. So here in Oregon, we have numerous specialty crops, everything that you see on the screen, and many, many more. So just looking at the program's history, the USDA in 2008 through the Farm Bill established the Specialty Crop Program. And it's called a block grant program because every state actually has one, because through the Farm Bill it was implemented. So on this website that we have the link here, you can find the full list of specialty crops that are eligible or ineligible and where they fall in the spectrum of USDA. Looking at Oregon in particular, we last year had a few recent changes, not only last year but in the past few years. So we went to a single phase proposal rather than doing an introductory proposal, getting approval, and then doing a full proposal. We actually just went straight to a full proposal. So you will, in the end, we'll show you where to find all of the information to create those full proposals and actually turn those into us for approval. Much of what we fund, we have a ceiling and a floor for our funding. So we've got that $25,000 floor and $175,000 ceiling. Projects will fall within that funding range and will take about 2.5 years to complete. And again, that's just based on when funding becomes available to us and when we can get it out to you, and the length of funding that we can allow for reporting processes. And more on a national scale, in the last few years we've had performance measures changes. So that's been the USDA's project, is changing some performance measures to ensure that the projects are actually benefiting specialty crops. Looking at eligibility, again, here's that definition of specialty crop, looking mainly at solely enhancing the competitiveness of Oregon specialty crops. And that's what the funding must do. And grants will not be awarded to projects that solely provide benefit to a single organization, institution, or individual. Now, that doesn't mean that any of those as a single organization, institute, or individual cannot apply for a grant, but that grant cannot only be benefiting them as an individual. It has to be more for the broader enhancement of specialty crops. Now, eligible entities are nonprofits, for-profits, government entities, including tribal governments, colleges, and universities. So basically anyone can apply, but they just have to go by that rule that it cannot be a single profit project. Just so you guys are aware, the program falls under the Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for federal awards. So this is basically a larger umbrella that tells us how we have to deal with projects and cost principles, and how you as project managers will be interacting with those audit requirements, cost principles, and everything like that. So that's under 2CR or 2FR. This is going to be real bad. This is not. This is the dyslexic girl up here trying to do this. 2CFR 200, or what's called the super circular. So those cost principles fall under the subpart E. You guys can find that on our website, and those specifically in the guidelines document, as well as if you just do a Google search, that'll pop right up. Just to take a look at some of the project restrictions and limitations. Really, again, this is going back to the sole promotion of specialty crops. So a campaign that says something like increasing the sales of XYZ grown watermelon is acceptable, while saying something like XYZ grown brand awareness increase is not, generally not. So making sure that you are specifying what specialty crop will be enhanced and that a specialty crop will actually be enhanced. So again, those funds cannot be used for costs associated with trade shows, meeting rooms, display demonstration, exhibits, and rental space for activities that do not solely promote specialty crops. Always comes back to that. So you can attend a trade show with a booth that is only based around berries, but you can't attend a trade show with a booth that's based around anything that's not specialty crop. So if you have any other questions, again, Shannon's and my email are on this slideshow, and you guys can reach out and contact us. We would be happy to explain this further, or if you have an idea, we can tell you yes or no if those grant funds can be used for that. Other restrictions and limitations that we would just like you guys to be a little bit of aware of. Equipment, so we can't necessarily just fund all new equipment for specialty crops. So they have to have a special purpose only, and the funding cap for that is also very restricted. You can also read through the other restrictions and limitations we have as listed here on this slide. And again, our emails are listed. You guys can ask us if you have any restrictions or limitations based on a funding desire that you have. Just as a reminder, and something that we like to tell all of our grant recipients, is that this funding is in the public domain. So that is something that you have to keep in mind as you are applying for projects and as you're thinking through project ideas. Now, looking at Oregon as a full program, we normally receive anywhere from $1.5 to $1.9 million a year. Again, we have those funding floors and ceilings of $25,000 and $175,000. We do encourage matching, which is something Shannon's actually going to talk about a little bit later in the presentation with the guidelines. All of our projects are going to be those 2.5-year time frame, which we actually require twice yearly reporting. Now, those reports are sent to the USDA, and the USDA audits them and comes back, and we have all of these questions that we have to answer as an agency to ensure that the projects that we are funding are actually doing good for specialty crops. In selection process, we have a 14-member industry represented advisory committee that will actually go through all of the projects that we place forward and then turn around and place projects to our director for approval, which will then be sent to the USDA to be funded. We have funding priorities established in 2012, which we're going to talk about next, and that we sit down and we update every fall with that advisory committee and the director. So as you can see here, these are the Oregon funding priorities. They're in no specific order. Again, we've got many funding priorities that you can look at different projects and see where your project idea falls. Now, just to talk a little bit about the last bullet point here, agriculture and food related priorities identified by Oregon Solutions Network Regional Solutions Centers really is more about rural development focus on an economically based careers, jobs, and infrastructure, and is added to any one project. Now, this isn't necessarily going to gain you more points with our advisory committee, but it's just a really unique piece that can be added to any project to send that project over the top with support for the specialty crop as a whole. Now, looking at just some timing and some timeline deadlines that you guys will need to be aware of is Tuesday, February 27th at noon, your full grant proposals are due. And that's not like midnight, that's not like 3 a.m., it's noon, like it's a cutoff date. And we're looking at May 2nd as an estimated deadline for the USDA state plan to be sent in. So that's where we as a state will compile all of the reports that have been approved and send them to USDA. In October and November of this year, funds will actually become available for projects to start. So those projects will start getting those funds and start being able to request funds in that time frame. So I'm actually going to throw it back to Shannon because she knows how to work the computers a lot better than I do. And thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for putting up with me.
Hi everyone, it's me again. So Gabrielle is amazing at these webinars, so I'm super pleased to have her on board to help me out through this open competitive season. And as well as you guys may have already heard, we are open for applications for a special crop block grant program manager as well. So if you haven't already seen that come across our listserv, and you know anybody who might be eligible for that position, please spread the word about that because we're excited to have somebody new come on board and take over this program. So spread the word. I know that you guys are excited to have somebody who can come in full time and get things rolling in that area as well. I just want to point out too, if you have questions or concerns, both these email addresses are up and running, mine and Gabrielle, and you can send those to either one of us and we'll be fielding those questions. Also on February 5th, our goal for a live Q&A session for both Gabrielle and I to be able to field your questions regarding this program. So stay tuned for that. We'll be announcing the registration for that webinar, and we'll kind of go through just the overall programs, questions that you might have. We try not to go very specific to projects, but we can cover some of them because some of the questions that you have, everybody has those questions. So, or you can send them ahead of time, and we'll try and cover those during the Q&A session as well. What I want to do right now is just go through where you can access forms and documents, and then go through the actual application real quickly and the guidelines document to kind of point out some of the changes that are within there. So real quick, just on our website, see if I can get this to go a little bit bigger, probably not. So on our website, off the oregon.gov/ODA is where you'll find Specialty Crop Block Grant Program under Marketing and Promotion. It is this button here. Maybe, yes. A little slow today. So you're going to be able to find all our forms and information. At the bottom, first our timeline. That's important for you guys to take note of, is the deadline that Gabrielle mentioned earlier is here. You'll also be able to find our guidelines document downloadable at this location here, resources here. And then you're going to be able to find summaries of all of the projects that have been approved for the last 3 years. And then the proposal form. That's probably the most important area for you to click and download. And then Gabrielle mentioned the USDA Specialty Crop Block Grant Program website. That's the link that you can click here as well. And then going back up to the top of the page, on the left-hand side is the navigational area that you can get to our program priorities. Here, that defines the priorities that were summarized in our PowerPoint presentation more specifically. So it'll help you to understand what goes where within those priorities a little bit better. And as Gabrielle mentioned, the ag and food related priorities under Oregon Solutions area is within that as well. Oregon farm labor needs and so forth. So you can really drill down as to what specifically are we talking about on this page. Likewise, you can access our program guidelines again on the left-hand navigation and the application process. I'll click there actually, because this is important for you to understand what are the rules and requirements that we have for you for actually submitting your proposal, including where to upload that to. We do not accept applications by email at all. So understand that you must submit them through this application link. It's an FTP upload place. So you must submit in there, and you must do it by the deadline that was indicated on our slide, which is noon on February 27th. Additionally, you can also click just to the submit proposal. I won't do that because it will take me to that link, and I don't want to go there right now. There's additional resources available to you on this website in case you want to look at it. It talks about how programs are run nationwide, a national conference we hosted here that you can look at as well. This all said, I'm going to take you to our website, our program guidelines right now. It is a resource for you to understand what specifically our guidelines are for the 2018 Specialty Crop Block Grant Program. Kind of make you a little bit dizzy here because I'm just going to go to some specific areas of importance because this is a lot of reading materials for you to look at, important stuff, but probably the most important area for you, allowable costs and unallowable costs. These are the restrictions for this year's program. They start, we think, page 19. Sometimes the page numbers are a little off. But a lot of this is similar to past years if you've applied for this program. Gabrielle pointed out the 2.5-year time limit. So these fundings will end for you in year, what is this, 2018, so 21, March of 21. It'll talk to you about what a multi-state partnership would be under this program, what types of funding is available, so a lot of what we've already defined. It talks about what cash match is, what in-kind match is. So it'll define for you what that is. If you're still having troubles when reading this, understanding what that type of, what if somebody writes you a check, or what if somebody gives you a wheelbarrow, what does that actually mean? Then give us a call. We'll walk you through that. And then indirect costs. So indirects are an unallowable cost through this program. So this will give you the definition of what we mean by an indirect. And then it walks you through those tables for nonprofits, colleges, state and local governments. And then again, the priorities, more defined.
I really found when looking through the priorities on this guideline sheet were more specific and had a lot more I gained a lot more understanding rather than using the website. I actually use this program guideline sheet.
A lot of the time the website is more shortened because websites are supposed to be that. They're accessed through your mobile and not through this means. So the application process. So what do we expect to see with your application? It'll talk you through what your support letters should look like, how we expect to see them packaged. Maybe expect isn't the right term, but how we would like to see them packaged. However, we would like to see support letters packaged as one support letter. That would be the greatest thing ever. Or one support package and submitted as one file, but we don't always know that that's how they can come to us. What is the review criteria? Who is reviewing them? When does it happen? And then the allowable costs. So this is the key thing, right? So what are you allowed to submit to us as a cost under this program? And then some priorities or some thoughts to keep in mind if you were to be awarded. What should you expect? Budget changes and extensions and so forth. What are the reporting requirements? So here's what you should expect if you were to be awarded funds. This is the reporting requirements that you will have to have and follow. ODA does supply templates for you to use throughout the duration of your project, including a template that you use for receipt for reimbursements, which is an Excel document. So if you don't already have an Excel application to use within your agency or organization, you should consider that when you're putting in your budget. Think that through. The other thing is note this new change when you're looking at your budget with match funding. Allowable costs listed below may also be costs shared or brought as part of the required match. Unallowable costs cannot be brought as a match. In the past, we've often been able to see entertainment as match and so forth. So as you're thinking through the way we've tabled this up, alcoholic beverage, all with exceptions, unallowable with for alcoholic beverages. Now, Specialty Crop Block Grant Program has a consideration within it. In some cases, building and land, all unallowable, and then there's the allowable. So be very careful as you're reading through these. In some instances, an unallowable cost is very specific to all programs under the AMS grant programs, including specialty crop, meaning you cannot even bring it as a match fund. So if you have a question about what you can and cannot or are and are not allowed to do with the grant program, please call us so that we can digest this with you and walk you through it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. And I'm going to go ahead and just open our grant template. And I'm not going to go through every single question or every single item within this, but I am going to go ahead and walk you through how we have it set up, just so that there's an opportunity to blow this up a little bit. Oops, that did not blow that up. Shrink it down a little. We set our application up so that the front part of our application is the instructions to give you a template to go by, and the back section is the actual form. So what you're witnessing here is us giving you the instruction for the project title, the instruction for the project organization and summary. So here's the bullets. These are the things we expect for you to answer within your project organization and summary. So name of the application organization, a concise outline of the project's outcomes, and a description of the general task. We do want this within 250 words or less, because this is what's going to be displayed in the summaries that will go on our websites. Project purpose and industry impact. Clearly define, and you can repeat these bullets within this section on the actual form that's attached after, which I will show you. Repeat these areas here. It says, what are the project beneficiaries? Give us an estimated number. What is that number? And then up here you'll see, who are these beneficiaries? Give us a descriptor of that. And it's okay, like I said, to take these areas, repeat these within the form that's attached. And then you have to check these bullets, and some people are not able to actually check the bullets. You can just put your initials in the area. Continuation of the project. If this is a continuation of a previously funded project, you have to check this and then answer the questions below. And then throughout the entire front section, we've given this descriptor of what this is. When you get to the expected measurable outcomes, there's an appendix, which I'll scroll to soon, that describes what these mean. These are very challenging, and I encourage you to call us and ask us questions, or hold your questions and compile them all at one time as you fill out the form for the Q&A session. That will give us an opportunity to answer those questions all at once. And then on the section where we are asking you for data collection to report on outcomes and indicators, you'll answer all these bullets, and then we are able to, you can repeat these and move them into that section as well. The outcomes and indicators section is you literally will move your indicator from the appendix that's attached, and I'll show you those that are below. You're not creating something of your own in this section anymore. The idea being that everybody is tracking their projects exactly the same nationwide. Budget narrative is the same thing. Use the tables provided to answer the questions, and then you have to give a justification per person, for instance, in personnel. And then the fringe benefit, you just give a description of what the fringe benefit item is. And then travel, justify what the travel is here, and then give a description of what the trip, each trip is that people will be taking. So contractual, we've given you a description or like an example of how contractual will be, and you give for each contractor you have to give a budget for each contractor and a justification for each contractor. And then as I go through here and make you a little bit seasick, program income's the same thing. I've given you an idea of how you can use program income. So you give an addition to the project, so how you will continue to enhance the project, deduct it from your project, or cost share and match. So how people, how you can match this project with the cost. And then we have a match fund narrative attachment. So you will attach a similar budget form to the project overall. And there's cash or in-kind match that we recommend towards the project. So the program itself doesn't have a requirement for this. However, our industry represented board does like to see match towards a project because it shows the longevity of the project. So we highly recommend that you have match towards the project. And again, we're glad to explain what cash or in-kind is. And then we have a work plan attachment as well. So what is the project activity, who's responsible for it, and when is the plan to carry it out? You can do it quarterly, you can do it monthly, but minimum it must be done on a quarter to show how the project will be carried out. And then this is the break. So the instructions for how to actually carry forward and fill out the form, and then how to actually submit your project is here. And then the letters of support, your submission, and I explained to you where you can go to submit this through FTP, and then when your deadline is, and again, that's a hard deadline. And then to expedite the process, we would like you to try and submit it early, but we recognize that our deadline is tight this year, and we thank you for the patience for that. And then this starts your proposal. We know some of you submit a different cover page. This is considered your cover page, so you don't need to send us a letter that says, please accept this application. There's no need for that. This is your cover page. It needs to be filled out to its fullest potential with a federal tax ID attached. Do not send social security numbers. And then a DUNS number. If you have not established a DUNS number yet, get it established because you'll need it if you get awarded. In fact, I believe you need it to submit your proposal. So I think you'll start seeing the duplicate fields here where you'll want to start filling out your information. And I think that's really all I have to include here. These are the budgets, and it starts to duplicate with your match attachment here and your work plan attachment here. And this is your performance evaluation appendix, so it gives an explanation of what's expected. You can copy and attach your indicator. These are the indicators from each area. You may move those up to where the form goes. Just copy them and move them up. Please do not submit your application as a PDF. It must be submitted in Word format because we have to move them into a template for the USDA. I think that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
No, I think that about covers it. Just again, please feel free to reach out to either of us. Our emails are back, right here on this slide. We are happy to answer any questions, and I'm happy to ask any questions. So your questions become my questions, and I appreciate that. Thank you guys for tuning in.
All right, thanks everybody.